This is a very huge project, and we're interested in why you decided to be part of it.
Well, to be honest with you, I was approached by the United Nations, and they explained what they were trying to achieve, which was to create a Nigerian humanitarian fund, which would serve as a blueprint for intervention in any national crisis we have of a humanitarian nature. And what was interesting for me was the fact that it was the first time in the world it had been done, one. Two, I think 12 or 14 European nations had donated different sums, totaling $70 million already to deal with the issues to do with the northeast of the country post the war. I wouldn't call it the war, post the skirmishes that occurred that created, 7 million people who've been affected, 26,000 dead, 1.7 million people displaced in the northeast of Nigeria in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. And I like the fact that the structure that we're looking for was one which we could, similar to the private sector, where we could measure the progress we're making, we could budget, we could set our challenges, or should I say our goals, and we knew what we were trying to achieve, because that's what the private sector is used to. And they were then looking for us to support that fund and continue to work with them hand in hand in dealing with the IDPs, the internally displaced people in the camp. So I was also intrigued by the work they had done. And one thing is clear to us, Nigeria is a very successful country. It's a $450 billion economy. Yet, when they tell you that 1 million people are at risk of starvation last year, and it's 2 million for next year, then you know that you have a responsibility to do something about that. Because if the economy of our size is 450 billion, then why should anybody be at risk of starvation? And what is the cost of giving people food? And the private sector has been very successful. 90% of the jobs in this country are private sector created. If you look at our GDP statistics as well too, probably 85% of all the income is generated here is from the private sector. It's not government spending. And what we do need to do is get the leaders of the private sector together and encourage them to really support this United Nations effort, where we can match them financially by donating with them, also match them by encouraging people with the entrepreneurial zeal which they have in this country towards helping those people. So you don't have to have them with cash, but you're in one business or the other. And every business leads to sustenance. There's something they need, whether it's medicines, whether it's clothing, whether it's furniture, anything anybody can do. The fact remains that there's 1.7 million people in the internally displaced camps who need some support. And our job really is to ensure that not only do we donate, but we also galvanize the private sector towards supporting this initiative.
In what areas do you think this fund would go a long way in supporting the IDPs or those affected by the insurgency?
Well, I mean, they need everything, and they need food, they need medicines, they need shelter. They need to also be encouraged to trade with themselves to create small to medium enterprises, such that when they come out of the camps, they can fend for themselves. So we know that it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but we also have a framework for doing it, because the United Nations is there working with a whole range of NGOs, and all those NGOs are Nigerian-owned, operated, and staffed NGOs. And they know what they're doing. So our job really is to give them the support that they need to continue to do the work that is required to make life easy for several, close to 1.7 million people who've been traumatized and are out of their homes because of the crisis that has occurred.